Hey, hello, hello. Hey, thank you, thank you, thank you. Can y'all hear me? Here's Moo. Hey, can you hear me? Hey, thank you for the follow. Name with a lot of stuff. You can. Okay, good. And Moo, I'm sure. Moo, why do you do this to me? Hey, Scarlett. Thank you, Chloe. Hello, baby D. Happy Saturday. Hello, Angela. Hey, Carla. Thank you, Sam. Come on, cat. Hey, all is good. Hello, hello. Hey, guys. This cat is driving me nuts, man. Moo is so needy. My skin looks amazing. Oh, thank you. How was my evening with no kid? Sunshine, it was hard. I didn't know what to do. I was like, what do you do? And today, again, there's no kids here today. My kids are all out. Um, they're out bowling with their friends. And one is at a birthday party. So yeah, I'm here all by myself. I'm like, I need to go live. Oof. Come on, Moo, you're getting me all hairy. Hey, Golden Rose. Hello, hello. Guys, do me a favor if you're just getting in here, don't forget to repost, share this out. For those of you, same thing, those of you over on FB and YouTube, I appreciate it. It's been really quiet, guys, on the social media streets, so I figured I would come on live and we can just review everything that happened this week with all the cases. Move, come on. Dude, get up there. So how many of you are keeping up with the David case? The whole Who wants a cat? Anybody want a cat? Because Moo's going up for auction. All right, because this is ridiculous. Thank you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, come on, Moo, you hurt me. He's trying to get comfortable on my leg. Yeah, Moo he sees the camera on now and he wants you guys to be, he thinks you can see him. He wants to be here. Thank you guys for the heart me's. Hey, Landslide. Hello, hello. You love cats? You want this one? I feel like somebody wants Moo. Because Moo. Honey, that's my leg. So did you guys hear about the David case, the update with the text messages that were seen where Celeste at 14 years old was in fact pregnant by David and she had an abortion and they were talking back and forth in the text messages and he obviously was like, is it mine? And she said yes. Yeah. So she was in fact at one point pregnant. What do you think about the girl that died running into the tree? I missed the girl running into the tree. I don't think she was 11 when she got pregnant. I think she was 11 when she started talking to David, but I think she was 14 when she was pregnant. No, we didn't know that, Scarlett. We don't know that. We just know that she was pregnant and I believe she was 14. Hello, Kendra. Hello, hello, hello. It's good, Kendra. I'm good. Thank you. How are you guys doing? So yeah, according to the text messages with the trial, her parents knew that she was seeing David. They knew where she was. They did. Why are people commenting he would give the parents hush money? I feel like that's some speculation. That's some talk that was going around. I don't know if there's any proof that David was giving the parents hush money. However, my concern is that they knew that this young girl was with a man, a grown man. They knew where she was, and I feel like they didn't do enough to protect her. I really don't. Oh, there we go. Now he's back in the spot. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that out because I know that's something new that I heard this week. Like, I know we were all wondering if she was ever pregnant by David, and now it is confirmed through the text messages that she was in fact pregnant and she did get an abortion. I'm sure, Karina, that they were aware of the age difference. They knew how old he was. I mean, he was famous. You know, it was very easy to find out how old he was. I don't know that her parents knew she was pregnant. I really hope not, because then that's like, hey, Katie, that's really concerning. I don't know what it is, Sam, with all of these grown men going after these young girls, but it's absolutely disgusting, in my opinion. So there's that. I just find that case, I'm not going to lie, in the beginning of the whole David case, guys, I really tried to give perspective, thinking like, because my question is, if you killed her, why did you put her in the trunk outside in your car, outside of your house? Like, what did you think was going to happen? People weren't going to know it was you. I'm like, there's no way he was dumb enough to do that. It had to have been planted there. My mindset was like, who's that dumb? Apparently, he was that dumb. The two chainsaws, he chopped up the body in his house. Like, the smell, y'all, it was just messy. He was not intelligent with this at all. It was just not very smart. The only thing that I think that the prosecution is going to have a problem proving is the when he killed her and where. I spent my night doing my homework on Andrea Yates. Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. I don't know why he kept her body. I don't know why he put it in the car. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't. You can't make that make sense to me. Thank you, Lori. Thank you guys for the heart me's. I appreciate it. I am talking about, I just brought up the David case. Yeah, I'm just going through like a little review of all the cases we've been talking about. And yeah, apparently Celeste Rivas Hernandez was pregnant with David's baby. She texted him. They were talking about the text messages in the trial. She did have an abortion. She admitted that it was his. Yeah, it's a lot. Things are not looking good for David. It is, yeah. There are no, it's not public. They're not showing it public. I'm just reading the reports. That's the reports we're getting. I know Nancy Grace did a little, but I do know that there was a lot of people wondering if she was pregnant. There was no proof of it. However, now because the text messages came out, not Mohammed trying to invite me to co-host. I'm good, thank you. So they're saying that she passed because they're saying on the autopsy there were blunt, like stab wounds to her abdomen, and then he chopped her up. So originally there was a stab. I think it was it hit her liver, I think, but stab wounds to the abdomen. And then come on. So yeah, there were stab wounds to the abdomen, and then she died, and then he dragged her into that little plastic pool, and they know it was the pool because they found the pieces of the pool inside inside her body when they were doing the autopsy, the abdomen and the chest. You're right, Teresa. I heard he cut her up a week later and took her eye. I didn't hear, Glow, that they took her eye. I did, however, heard that he took her fingers. The pinky finger, I think, with the one with the tattoo of his name, the finger is gone. They have not found the finger. So, yeah. I don't know about the eye. I mean, it's very possible that the eye wasn't there because the body was so decomposed and melted almost, right? It was pretty much melted. So, yeah, it is just disgusting. And I want to know where the finger is. I mean, you walking around in prison with a finger in your pocket? Like, what are you doing? Where's the finger? Why would you take the finger? They knew it was her. It wasn't like everybody knew that they were together. She went to his parents' house, guys. She visited his parents. How did his parents not say, you know what, David, this is a little girl? So I feel like all of the parents have some responsibility with this because none of them said anything. Nothing. So I don't know. It's her parents that I find the most suspicious to me. Like, you knew where your kid was. My kid is not going to be at some grown man's house and I'm not going to go pick her up. That night that he texted her to kill her, he texted her, she got into an Uber and drove to his house. Where were her parents at 9:30 at night? Come on. Like, my kid ain't getting into an Uber at 9:30 at night. No, over my dead body. Right, at 14. It's not like she was 17 years old. Yeah. If my kids had a brother, the brother would be there, my son would be there. Like, that would not happen in my household ever. Ever. Literally over my dead body. It would have to happen. Because that's not going to happen. Not at all. So yeah, I just figured that was really interesting because I know there was a lot of speculation about she was pregnant when she died. She was not pregnant that they know of when she died. However, she did have a pregnancy because she texted him about it. Yeah, I agree. David, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting to go over that happened that I didn't really get a chance to talk about or do a video on. And then you guys heard about the Siders case, right? The updates with the Siders case, that Gary Siders Jr., or now the second, because there is a third, his attorney is requesting a competency evaluation for Gary Siders Jr. Hey, Angela. So I feel like that's really interesting. Do we think that Gary Siders Jr. is competent? No, I haven't, Lumi. Hey, Angela. For Junior, Nina, yes. It's for Gary Siders Jr. His attorney requested a competency evaluation and he wants it kept under seal because it will contain psychiatric information. You know, I see a lot of people saying that he was competent enough to make the children, right? He was competent enough to, I mean, he worked for DoorDash, but I don't know. You don't think it'll be granted? The competency evaluation, I feel like they will. I feel like the judge will allow the competency evaluation, just to be sure, right? You want to make sure somebody who's sitting trial, if there's question of their competency, they deserve the right to aid in their own trial and completely understand the whole legal strategy. So I think that they will, just to be on the safe side, because that's always that can be appealed later on, right? Oh, eventually he's going to stand trial, because what happens is if they do say that he's not competent right now, they will pause the trial and they will work with him, right, and put him into treatment until he is competent. Once he is competent again, then he'll stand trial. So it's not like he will not stand trial. It's really just a pause and a continuance of the trial on his part. He did have a driver's license, yes. You would think so. I would think that, I mean, I think that these people are seriously uneducated. I don't know about the competency. I don't see why Gary Jr. would be incompetent. You had babies, you worked, you lived in apartments all by yourself. So again, I think there's a very big difference between uneducated and competent, right? And so I think, yeah, I really do, Angela. I think this is just to drag it out. I do believe that he's competent enough to stand trial. I think they all are. And I think that if they weren't, at some point in time, somebody would have been like, let's question these people. Like, you went in, you had babies. Competency is something that doctors, obstetricians, hospital staff would question if they felt like you didn't have the understanding. Sorry, guys, my allergies are all. Ugh. Is it a tactic to make the trial? Yeah, it's definitely possible, because it's going to have to be on hold until he completes the evaluation. And depending on the results, he completed 8th grade. Right, he did. But 8th grade, I mean, what do you know in the 8th grade? I mean, you know the basics, right? That's what, a 14-year-old's level? I think it is competent enough. But again, are they suffering from some kind of psychological illness? I don't know. Hey, Sam. So what do you think?
My question is the longer this drags out, if the state's going to take full custody, like
Of the children?
not temporary custody like they have, but they will be granted custody of the children. And so reunification will happen because they will go, they will sometimes go before trial and everything and can jump loopholes to do that.
Yeah. I agree, landslide. There is a big difference between the two. I don't, and I can't prove this. I don't know this for a fact, but I do hear that they requested the children to have complete guardianship over the children. Did you hear that, Sam? Like custody, that the state is requesting full custody?
Permanent custody. I mean, I heard on the news because one lady posted it, and I was like, I don't see anything, but the local news there did say that request it to the court.
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying this, guys, but bear with me. Because you know, if it needs to be said, I feel like I'm gonna bring it up. I'll be the person to bring it up with this mouth. The state is asking for permanent custody of the children. That's what you heard too, landslide. Yeah, I did hear that. I will go and make sure that that's true. I feel like for that state, especially that county, these kids are money to them, right? They're already requesting millions of dollars for the care of the children. I mean, it's money for them. And so I don't know. Are they really trying to act in the kids' best interest, or is this money? Like, is anybody else feeling like this is money for them? Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Robs. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I know what the prosecution said. They joked about it. If you find the article,
I think I read that article.
Listen to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is. You know, they're requesting an awful lot of money to take care of these children. And so I don't know that they're really concerned about what's best for the children. I feel like they're seeing money signs. And listen, I'm going to go back to this case, and it's not exactly the same, guys, but we all remember the Turpin children, right? Like the same thing happened with them, and then they were thrown in foster care where they were then again abused after being rescued from their parents' abuse, right? Then they were put in foster care where nobody really cared. These kids were being abused. And then where did all that money go for them? And, you know, so I don't know. I just feel like they're seeing dollar signs here. They're seeing dollar signs. And what is best for the kids? You know what I mean? Like, was it malicious abuse that the deciders did this, or was it like something that can be helped and there could be a possible reunification? You know what I mean? Like, do you guys believe that they did this out of malicious intent?
No, I don't think it's malicious myself.
So if it's not malicious intent, then don't we ultimately want don't we ultimately want reunification if it's possible? If they could get help, well, it depends if they're not in jail. Like if they're in jail, then somebody else can need to take custody. But I mean, if this wasn't done with malicious intent and they needed help, don't we want them to get help? Because isn't the best place for the kids with their family? I mean, it's a roll of the dice with the system, right? It's a roll of the dice with just putting the kids in foster care. Now we know great foster parents, right? Like Stacy's one. Stacy spent many years being a foster parent, and we know Stacy. Stacy did a good job. She's great. She loves those kids. But there are some not so great foster parents out there. And so I don't know. What is what is ultimately the best for these Siders children? Hey, love and peace. You know, I don't know. Yes, I agree. The best place is with your siblings, but I work in the city and have kids tell me stories. Yeah, I agree. These kids are going to need a lot of help. Absolutely. But now, is the state really going to help them? Or is that just money in their pockets? So it's like, that's all right, TD Bird. I know it's hard to talk about. So that's really too much abuse in foster care. Also, bad apples can be found everywhere. I agree, Nina. Hello, Sherry. That's normally the state's goal, is to reunite the kids with their parents, right, Landslide? So if that's normally what the end goal for this is, right? Ultimately, the state's goal is reunification with the parents. Then why are they trying to jump in and take custody of these children before the parents even stand trial to find out if they're guilty? Isn't that a red flag? I mean, isn't that usually done after the trial? I agree, Angela. Some people do take in kids just for the check. So I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of angles being played with everybody. You know what I mean? Like, we know the attorneys have got to defend their clients. I do believe that the Siders are guilty. However, I don't believe there was malicious intent in there. I don't think that they were purposely trying to abuse the children. Hey, misbehaving. I think that I don't know. Like, I think they knew better. I think that it all piled on, but I don't think their intent was to harm the children, right? I think that they need help. I do. I believe that the parents need help. And, depending on the outcome of that help that's provided to them, then that's when we figure out whether or not these children belong in the state's care permanently or back with their families. And I feel like this state is seeing, like, you know what, we can request millions of dollars for these kids. Let's just take custody of them. Hey, Austin. So I don't know. Yeah, they have not even given time for the court to decide whether they're guilty or not. Right, Landslide? You know what I mean? Like, how are we trying to take these kids away permanently before we even find out if the parents are guilty or not? You know what I mean? Thank you so much, Austin. I appreciate it. So that right there is a red flag to me. You're willing to take on 16 kids, and the cost to take, of course you are, because you can request, the county can request, the state can request federal funds. We need to take care of these 16 kids, and they're feral, and all of these things that we're finding out may not be the exact truth. Emmy, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of angles being played from a lot of people with this case. I really do. Emmy, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the heart me's. I appreciate it. Do me a favor, guys, if you're just getting in here, don't forget to share this out. Don't forget to repost. If you guys can give me a heart me, I appreciate it. It sends me further out on the FYP. And you guys know numb thumbs, because that also pushes us out. So if you can't do the heart me, that's okay, guys. If you lose feeling in your thumbs for tapping, I truly appreciate it. Over here on FB and YT, if you guys can do the same, share these lives out to people you think that may enjoy the content, who like to have the conversations. I really do appreciate it. Also over on YT and FB, if you guys can heart the live, I really do appreciate it, because I'm doing the lives and this is new to this area. And so it will definitely get me pushed out there, and I appreciate it. The more people we have in here, guys, for these conversations, the better the conversations are going to be, and the more perspectives we'll have, right? I love the different angles. And so that's truly what we want, is different angles to this conversation, people bringing up thoughts that we may not have thought about, Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate it. Hey, do I need to triple screen again? You're so funny, one and only. Did you work out how to make mods on FB? I did. Now, the problem, guys, with my mods over on FB is everybody is in a different name. I don't want to say them. However, I don't remember whose name yet. So I'm like, man, what am I doing? Who's who? So if y'all can just send me a message on who you are, this way I know, that would be a little bit helpful because, I don't associate anybody's like TikTok name or their screen name or user handles with their real life names. I try to keep their real life names yeah, I don't remember who's who because I purposely don't acknowledge your real names because just for anonymity. This Lori Lynn is Moo. This is Moo's show. He loves the camera. He just lets me borrow the camera once in a while to talk to you guys. But ultimately, he's the true detective here, and he lets you all know it. So thank you, Lori. Moo loves everybody. Actually, I think he's just conceited and likes the attention he gets. No human assistance. Yeah. I think they should make a big house for these children and hire people to help. I don't know, and what, but right, Paula, I see you. Everyone loves Moo. You all love Moo more than me. I know it. Don't worry. Um, but yeah, I don't know what to do with these children. I feel like the goal shouldn't switch just because these children and the amount of children there are. I feel like if reunification is always the goal, then why would it not be that with this? You know what I mean? Like this needs to be handled the same way. Moo does need his own YT channel. He's going to come back down. Why wouldn't it be here? Well, first of all, let's find out if the parents and the grandparents are guilty, right? Like, let's two almost died. Maybe that's why. It's possible, but do you know what was wrong with those children? We don't know anything about the medical issues with the children yet, and so I don't want to assume, right, that what was wrong with the kids. But again, was it malicious? Did they do it on purpose? That's the whole thing. If they weren't doing it on purpose and they just needed help and assistance, well, then thank you, Sherry. That's completely different to me. The intent and the motive for what happened makes a big deal. You know what I mean? And everybody wants to know their family and be a part of their family. And so my orange cat's the same way, super lovable. So are my dive orange dogs too. They're the same way. Nothing has been, no, one and only, nothing has been released about the condition of the children as of yet. I haven't heard anything. Now, what I did hear, and they didn't state the ages, but they did say that two were transported to a level 1 trauma center. They didn't say why. Were they transported because, I don't know, did the other hospital need the space? I mean, we don't really know why they were transported. Do I think that they could have been seriously ill? Absolutely. But what? With what? I agree. They definitely are going to need help, right? I'm not saying just give the kids back to the parents. I see you, Cricket. Thank you for that. I think that, the parents need help. And ultimately, if they can get help and take the kids back, that would be the best for them. The CPS I deal with is a nonprofit organization. Yes. But my concern is putting these kids and again, I'm going to go back to the Turpins, guys. Sorry, I'm just trying to sit on my leg here. The Turpins, look what happened to them. You know what I mean? It was so sad. They were rescued from the house that their parents had them in, the conditions that their parents had them in. And then, hey, Faithless, thank you. Let me just write that down. They were rescued from the conditions that their parents had them in. The parents obviously are still in prison, right? And so they had to go into the system and into foster care where they were harmed just the same, if not worse. You know what I mean? They were put in these situations. They were abandoned. The older ones were abandoned. They raised all this money for the kids, and the kids never got the money. Where did their money go? And what happened? The kids were just left to their own. They were abused again. And so, I don't know. it's really hard. It's really hard. And there were how many Turpins? 13, right? 13 Turpin children. I mean, that's a lot. That's hard. Nobody was found tied up. In this case, right? Nobody was found tied up, right? There was no chains in the house. As far as I know, and again, I can only go by what we know to be fact, right? These kids weren't beat. These kids weren't chained up. These kids weren't like nothing like that. They were just living in squalor and filth. And again, how did that come about? Was that an always livable situation? Like, did they always live like that? Or is this something that just happened because of, situations became overwhelming and things just got out of control, which with the amount of children and then a needy father, right? Gary Sider Sr. being needy with his medical issues, I can see, and again, this is no excuse and this is no justification, but I can see how things can become overwhelming and just get out of control. The need for money, the need for basics. I get it. Hey, Peaches. But the house was a giant chain. Well, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess, yeah, I can see that. I can. I just feel like like every other parent, we're all looking at these kids. And in my heart of hearts, I just want what's best for them. These poor kids have been through hell. And what's best? Throwing them into a system that may not care and is going to use them for some good funds, or rehabilitating their parents and hoping that their parents, since it wasn't maliciously intended to happen, that maybe they can love them and learn the right way to take care of them, which is the best situation for these children, right? Thank you, Glenda, so much for the goat. I appreciate it. What is the best outcome for these kids? And I don't know. I feel like that, to me, if they just needed help, then maybe give them the help they needed. Unless it comes out that there's proof that this was maliciously intended, then throw away the key at this point and roll the dice with foster care, because what do you do at that point, But I do feel like the state, the county, all these people are looking at funds, right? 16 kids equals a whole lot of funds. We can easily ask for millions of dollars in funds and nobody's going to question it, because these poor kids were rescued from this horrible situation with the attorney general coming out saying they were feral. And we put that out there, and now people are going to give us the funds for these kids. And so absolutely take them into our care, because they're, with them comes money. With them comes funds. And so I don't know, I'm a little sketchy on the state, We definitely need some intervention for these children, and some God's intervention. Yeah. I think maybe Elizabeth could have supervised visits, but she shouldn't have custody. She failed. Well, wouldn't that be the best? You know what I mean? I don't know about the custody thing. I think we have to see what comes out as far as evidence. But yeah, I mean, I think it's always best for children to have their mom and dad, right? And so until we figure out, like, everybody's innocent until proven guilty, right? And if that's really the truth, then they should have visitation with their parents, because we don't know if they're guilty yet, or what it is that they're actually guilty of. Moo Man, lay down. We don't know what they're actually guilty of. And so, yeah, I think that there should be some kind of communication kept between the children, as long as the children want it. And again, I don't know what the children out there saying to people, right? I don't know if the children are claiming they were abused. I'm not sure. I don't know. Thank you, Monica. That is Moo. This is Moo's show. So I don't know. I think that, but then again, if they're sitting here saying that they're not competent enough to stand trial, then you're not competent enough to raise children. So I don't know. I don't know. I just hope for the best outcome for these kids. It's supposed to be innocence until proven guilty. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen very often nowadays. Oh, Tiffany, it absolutely doesn't, especially with public opinion and social media reaching as far as it does. Hey, Rosie. Yeah, the whole innocence until proven guilty thing is non-existent. Their identities need protecting too if they go into the system. That's another thing. Yeah, they do. And again, I'll bring that back to the Turpin kids. We all saw how that played out. And it was absolutely a shame. The kids, yeah, Faith, the kids absolutely should be the priority. So I don't know when this whole thing is going to happen. I do know that, who was it, Sam? Was it Christina Linsiders who also went for the gag order? And the gag order covers like documents and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is no, all of that is being covered underneath her gag order. I think Elizabeth has severe depression, not able to function. Definitely possible, right? They all could have. I mean, I don't know why we're just saying Elizabeth. I think it's very practical that Gary Siders Jr. and the rest of them, considering that Gary Sr. was ill, you know what I mean? I think it's possible that they all struggle from depression and just being beat up by like the circumstances, right? So again, I don't want to just pinpoint Elizabeth as some horrible some victim, because anything you could say about Elizabeth, you could say about everybody. And I think people look at Gary Siders and they're making these accusations based on people's looks. And again, I know people are talking about, well, they were married at 15. However, and I've spoken to a lot of people who live in this area that the Siders are from, and that seems to be a commonality down there, right? That, and again, I'm not saying it's normal or it's socially acceptable or accept, you know, what I am saying is it seems to be common, more common in this area of Ohio, West Virginia, these areas right here, than it is elsewhere in the bigger cities. And again, look at her mother. You know what I mean? Like Elizabeth's mother was married at 15. You know, now I know that there's the uncle or the grandfather's brother, whomever was 48, marrying 14-year-olds. That's a different crime in and of its own. But again, look at these people along their families that they know. People are getting married young, 15, 16. And so, you know what I mean? I think that we also have to take that. Is that necessarily abuse in that area? I think it should be abusive everywhere, but you know, it's their norm. It's not unheard of for a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old to get married in that area. Now, I don't think it's acceptable, but it's more common in the area that they're from, you know? And so does that make everybody who gets married at 15 a victim? I think the law is the law. I think if the law says you're 18 years old and that's what's considered an adult, then nobody should be allowing a child to get married. I think the law has to catch up and be like, you know, stop with the gray. You guys know how I feel about the justice system and the gray areas. You know what I mean? I think that if you're going to say that I can't go and buy, you know, a pack of cigarettes till 18, I can't join the military till 18, I'm not an adult. 18 is when I start paying taxes. 18 is when the government looks at me like I am adult enough to have these responsibilities. Then the government should keep it there and not allow 15-year-olds to take on the responsibility of being a wife and a mother and so forth. You know what I mean? I don't think that that's the way it should be.
You know, I'm in Mississippi, and so it's
I see where I'm
here. I've realized a lot of 18-year-olds get married and have kids, and I think that's kind of early, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the norm here. I know my nephew's, one of them, he got married right away, had kids right away, and he's a great dad, and you know, I think he's fine, but there was so much more life to be lived too.
And more experiences to experience and more to learn, right? I was a mom at 18 years old, and let me tell you something. My parenting through the years has grown with me. My level of patience and understanding has grown with me. I look back and see how what I really, you know, I thought I knew at 18. I didn't know nothing. You know what I mean? I had a lot of growing up and learning to do. And I felt like 18, looking back, was way too young to have a kid. You know what I mean? So I don't think that we should be signing off and be allowed to sign off our children to get married at 15. I think that the government needs to catch up. Come on. It's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. If they want to be married so bad and they think it's really the right decision and you're going to be together forever anyway, then why not just wait the 3 years until you're legally an adult. It doesn't make any sense. To me, allowing children to get married is really just taking the responsibility of them off of you and giving it to somebody else. And that's everybody. And that's how I see it. You know what I mean? You're still a child at 15. Absolutely. First of all, you're still a child at 21, in my opinion. What did we all know at 21 years old, right? Trust me, not much. You know, I feel like I became an adult around 32. 32, I think, is the year that my outlook changed. And just I had enough knowledge and enough life experience. I think 32 for me was the year that I became like, I finally have some wisdom. You know what I mean? Like I finally get it now. But 21, like even 21, I was just a little too young to be. I was a wife and a mother at 21. And that was a lot. It was a lot to handle. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. I feel like the government needs to make a law and leave it. Stop with the gray. You know what I mean? Like if somebody kills somebody, you put them in jail for life. It's not like, well, then maybe like stop allowing justifications and all of that. Make a law, period, point blank. It's a boundary you can't cross. 18 is 18, so nothing should be done as an adult under 18, period. I don't think a 17-and-a-half-year-old should be tried as an adult in the court of law because your own law states 18 is an adult, but yet you're going to be trying these kids as adults because you feel like, well, I think this one, but you weren't going to give this one access to do any of the adult things, right? Like it just stop with the gray, stop with the trying to justify certain situations. If 18 is an adult, then it's period 18. You know, mothers should be able to say, hey, you know what? My kid is a little bit more grown. I'm just going to let her get married at 14, 15, 16 years old. No. And I think that all states should be the same. This whole thing with the states is ridiculous. I don't know why somebody can go into West Virginia at 15 and get married. I think it's wild that the age of consent is what, 16? Like you can get married, but yet the age of consent for you know, a sexual relationship is 16. So you're going to put these kids into a marriage before the government's even.
In Ohio is 17.
That's why.
And age of consent now in West Virginia is 18. That was back in 2023. And I think it's because there were so many young children getting married at that time. So they switched that in 2023.
So now let me ask you, Sam, what if the age of consent in West Virginia now you said is 18?
Yes.
How old can they be to get married with a parent's consent?
Oh, I don't know. Let me Google that.
You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Now they're saying your age of consent is 18, but yet mom can say that I'm old enough and sign me over to get married at 15, but yet you just said the age of consent was 18. It's you're scrambling your own damn laws. You know? It just doesn't make sense. People still get married at 15 as long as parents sign. Yeah, it's just wild to me. I don't think that we as parents should be able to sign away our children at 15. I think that's abandonment. Like if you're so sure that your child is ready to get married at 15 years old and you think this relationship is what's best for them, then why not wait the 3 years until they finish school and mature?
Yeah, it's 16. Linda, yeah, you're right. It's 16. I just Googled this.
So 16 is the age of consent?
With parents' permission.
To get married?
Yes, but prior to 2023, 15, a child, or yeah, I think around 15, it said.
But personal,
there was a law passed.
But personal consent is 18?
Personal consent is 18. And in Ohio, it's 17.
Someone make that make sense for me. How before I'm even eligible to say that I consent to something, that somebody else can consent for me and think that I'm old enough. That's ridiculous. How are you saying that you're not old enough to consent to this until you're 18, but your parents can say you're old enough to consent to it at 16? What? I want to sit down. Listen, y'all, this mouth, okay? This is why I could never run for office, or because y'all would hate me. I'd be on the news all day long talking shit about people. Because let me tell you something. I want to sit down with these lawmakers and be like, are you stupid? Like, can you make it make sense for me? It's nothing but a bunch of mumbo jumbo, and your one rule and one law contradicts the other one. And really, ultimately, it's just so you're not responsible for any of this shit, because let's be real. Like, make it make sense to me. Taxes, federal government, 18 years old, all states. Well, I mean, 10, why not 10? If you can be an adult and consent at 15, why not 10? What's the difference? Well, hell, I got a 3-year-old who wants to marry Elmo. Where's the papers? Where do I sign? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Like, dude, at 15 years old, man, what was I doing at 15 years old? I don't even know what I was doing. I was still playing. I know for a fact that I was still playing with dolls at 13, 14 years old. Like, I know for a fact I was. So make it make sense. Like, it just, I need to sit down with these lawmakers and be like, what crackerjack box did you get your education out of? Like, because this is some shit. It pisses me off that it's nothing but just a bunch of inconsistent laws that just go against each other. So consent is mental, marriage is fine as long as parents are okay. Yeah, apparently. I'm not telling you what I was doing at 15, right, Angela? Like, definitely not ready to be a wife and a mother at 15. I don't care what my parents thought about me. What did they know about me? Like, what do you know about your 15-year-old? You know, it's like, come on, for real. I can't. It's the ass backwards for me. I can't. None of it makes sense. Yes, you guys can come up. It's just wild. I get so frustrated. Hey, one and only.
Hi. I just found out what ours is. I just thought I'd say over here. So ours is 18 for marriage in England and Wales, 16 in Scotland and Northern Ireland. So we do have it split. England, there's nothing under 18. They took the parent consent bit away totally. But then if you travel to Scotland or Ireland, then you can get married at 16 with parent consent. So we've got like the same actually, like the border, you could go to Scotland and do it like 2 years earlier.
And so without
the same everywhere. I didn't know that it was different. I really didn't until I've just looked.
So in Ireland and Scotland, without parental consent, the age of actual personal consent is still 18.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So in England, there's nothing. We've took away that clause of the consent bit, whereas the other, where's my pad gone?
You said in England and Wales?
Yeah. So in England, there's nothing under 18, and you actually can get up to 7 years imprisonment if you lie about your age and that. But so obviously we're more stricter in England, but in Scotland and what was that? My freaking page in my book now.
Can we ride on the coattails of England and Wales? Like, can we do that, please? Because apparently they have a little bit of common sense with their laws. I'm just saying. And we don't. Nor do you, Ireland and Scotland. Just saying that too. I think it's, well, first of all, at least theirs is 16. I mean, up until when you can get married at 14 with parental consent. That's wild.
Yeah, so the other area, you can get married between 16 to 18 with parent consent. But England have gotten, and I think it's only recent, in the last 10 years, we've took away the parent consent bit. You just can't do it at all. But then you can travel to Scotland and do it.
It's just wild to me.
Hey, Ivory. Hey, everyone.
Hello. Hey, Faithless.
Yeah, I mean, even like now.
You do. You need to show a birth certificate to get married. Yes. Paula, you do.
Thompson Hillary and his family even moved from England to the Isle of Man. So his daughter Venezuela could get married at the age of 16 because obviously it's age 18 over here.
That's wild.
Well, I would say it should go on where you're born, like where your origin is. You know, if you're born in England, I don't think you should be able to travel. You know what I mean? Like travel and that. If you're living in Scotland, faring up, but I don't think you should have that traveling there because you could do it and then come back to England.
I agree.
You know what I mean? I don't know how it works.
I agree with the states here. I don't think you should be able to live in Ohio and then cross the border into West Virginia, get married just to go live in Ohio where it's illegal, right? I feel like the states here is the same thing.
Technically, if they would have really went by the law, it's based on how long you've lived in whatever state you're in.
Really?
If they go by their actual law books, like West Virginia, to get divorced, you have to live in the state for like, I think it's 6 months before you can actually file for divorce in the state of West Virginia.
Oh. What is the marriage thing in West Virginia? Like, is there like,
16.
right, but is there, you have to live there for a certain period of time?
That I'm not sure of. That I would have to look up. But I do know that if you decide you want to get divorced, you have to live in the state of West Virginia for 6 months unless you file for divorce in the state you were living at before. Although if you don't have a residency address in the state you were before, I don't know how you would be able to file for divorce.
So let me get this straight. In order to go to West Virginia to get divorced, you have to live there for 6 months, but there's no recommendation on having to live there to get married, or at least that we know of. Sam, can you check on that? And see if it's a recommendation that you live there for so long before you can get married with parental consent?
I'll blow your mind even more. West Virginia doesn't have a set law that you can leave your child and children home alone.
Actually, a lot of states don't have a law that state how old
Oh,
your
really?
children. Mm-hmm.
I
know my
I didn't know
state.
that. I just know I've seen other states where, they say the period of time that you're allowed to leave your child home alone is like 10 or something. But West Virginia doesn't have that law.
A lot of states don't define a law. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of agree with that, and I'm gonna tell you why. I see you, Sam. I have 10 children. There are some of my children I feel are totally capable at 10 years old to be left alone for 20 minutes, a half an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have had some children that at 10 were not capable of being left alone. So I really feel like it just depends on, your children and their capabilities and them. And so, like, what is a proper age? 10, 12, 15. There are some that I didn't want to leave alone until they were 16, 17. And again, how long, I think that's a personal thing. And I think that goes along with just the maturity of your child, the level of understanding, how safe can that child be by themselves. So I know a lot of states don't really they have guidelines, but they're not like.
So we don't even have any guidelines. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing.
What did you want Samantha to look up? Because I'm going to do it because she's busy. What was it you asked to look up, and I'll do it now.
So Tiffany said that in the state of West Virginia, you can go there to get divorced, but you have to live in the state for 6 months. I'm wondering if in the state of West Virginia, do you have to live there in order to get married with parental consent for some sort of time?
All right. All right.
Tori mom said you can't leave a 5-year-old alone. Yeah, I think that's just common sense. I think some of this is really just parental common sense, right? I wouldn't leave my 5-year-old alone. I wouldn't leave my 8-year-old alone. I wouldn't, I want to know that if I leave my child alone for a few minutes, right? And when I start leaving them alone, my kids are literally left alone for like 5 minutes. I'm going to run up to the 7-Eleven and come right back. And I think that do they understand 911? Do they know our neighbors and know that where they can go? Like, we have a plan in my family in an emergency where to go. And so my kids know where to meet in an emergency, who they can go to. My neighbors are very well aware of our plan just for safety issues. My kids understand 911, how to use cell phones. My kids can use an Alexa to call 911. They know how to use their devices and they have 911. They understand how to speak to 911. I'm going to tell you my name, my age, and my address first, and then I'll tell you what happened. So again, it all just really boils down to me about the understanding and the maturity of the child. So,
I'm too paranoid. I wouldn't leave my kids home alone. It didn't matter.
listen, I'm a latchkey kid. How many in here are latchkey kids? I mean, listen, we raised ourselves, right? I'm Gen X.
Oh yeah.
I raised myself. You know what I mean? Like there was
I was
nobody. At 10 years old, I was riding a bike over the George Washington Bridge to go to the city to hang out, and then rode my bike back over the George Washington Bridge. My parents didn't know. As long as I was home by the time the street lights went on, like it was whatever.
My mom worked about an 8-hour shift, sometimes a double shift. And heck, we did whatever we wanted. But I was born in 1987, and crime and drugs and stuff like that, and where I was born and raised was very seldom and far and few between. So, it wasn't a big deal. Of course, back then, CPS wasn't so big on well, you have to do this, and you can only do this, and you can't leave fingerprints, and you can't do this. And
yeah, it's definitely a different generation, but when I look at my kids, and I have a 10-year-old who can't even cross the street yet, and I'm like, I was roaming the earth. I knew how to give the dollar to the bus driver and get on a bus. I knew where that bus took me. I knew what time to catch the bus to make it home in time. Like, I feel like I've had survival skills, and so I also, though, try to teach my children that survival. I also, I let my kids walk to the school because the school's a few blocks away. Are me and my older daughter, walking behind them and they don't know? Yes, because I want to make sure that my kids know what to do in an emergency, right? Like you just got to make sure that your kids are educated. We need to educate the kids and then give them a little trust that these kids can be, because we're holding these kids inside. We're not allowing them to do anything. And then in 10, 20 years, we're going to have a whole bunch of people who don't know how to function on their own and need nothing but complete guidance. And that's my concern. Yeah.
With young adults.
Yeah.
Like you said, I was taking the city bus. I was babysitting all day at 11 years old, a toddler, for summer clothes until I can get an actual job. And we were cooking dinner when my parents were at work. We were home alone all summer, me and my sister.
Yep.
And so, we try to teach my son. He does not have to be as responsible as I was. We don't make him watch. He can watch Brothers for like 20, 30 minutes. I don't want to put that on him, but he does have, learn to change a tire, change oil, just those common sense things. Like he stays home, he knows not to answer the door. If there's an emergency, to go to Grandma and Grandpa's. You have to teach them common sense and how people are. You don't stare at people, they might go off on you. You don't pick a fight. You don't get in the middle of a fight. You don't egg it on.
Let me ask you, Sam, I'm really interested in what you just said. Now you're talking about your son is how old right now?
He's 14.
Now you just said you let him stay home alone for a little bit?
Yeah, we let him stay home for when we go to town, sometimes a few hours, or 3-4 hours. We trust him. He's responsible, and he's been responsible since he was like young, like 8 years old. Don't ask him to cook anything. He won't use the oven and he's not allowed to, or the stove, but he uses the microwave. But
I'm sorry.
When does he turn, Sam, when does he turn 15?
Next May.
Okay, I really want, and I'm bringing this up just because I really want people to hear what you just said. Your son is 14 years old. You allow him to stay home for a couple of hours, which is absolutely fine, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You don't let him use the stove because you don't want him to burn the house down. Now imagine a child that age giving consent to him to go get married and have a family now.
No, absolutely not. Like he just learned how to use the weed eater. Okay? ride the riding lawnmower where, but absolutely not. He's still playing his video games. He's still hanging out with his friends, going swimming. Sometimes he even plays with his wrestlers still, and not plays, but, he's got his collection of baseball cards. We try to make sure he does age appropriate things, but also learn, like, this is how you check the oil. This is how you change a tire. This is how
You teaching him to grow up
Yes.
slowly.
Yeah.
And I think Sam will realise that in our house, age is not even a thing.
Mhm.
Because my eldest two don't go anywhere on their own, whatever. And it's my youngest one that has gone to university, learned how to drive, and she's my baby by like 5 years. But she's the one who's doing things, but the older ones haven't. So actually, when I spoke to someone about it, the dynamics of like the oldest that don't work in my house, because my son's 23, but he will always have to have someone. And my daughter, my middle daughter is obviously in a unit, so she needs help. Or it's my youngest that I've actually had to let fly the coop, and that was really hard because I've not done it before. I hadn't done it with my older two because they didn't have that capacity to do that. And it sort of was like, hold on a minute, she like surpassed the other two when she was growing up. When she was about 11, she stopped playing with dolls and that, whereas the middle one did. And it was like she just ran past everyone with her development, and it was really weird for me. I was like, but you're the youngest, what you do, and it is really weird because age is not a thing in my house. It's to do with what they can do, because like I say, Adam's 23, but will never drive and everything else like the youngest one will.
Yeah.
So again, it comes down to that, doesn't it? Like, it's not just about age, it's about capability, capacity, things like that.
True. That's true. I think a lot of mine was because
sorry. I've sent you a thing for West Virginia because it's very complicated, and I started writing it, but they're not allowed an age gap of so many years.
Mhm.
I've never read that before, so I've sent you the link.
I think it's 3.
Because it got really complicated for that, so I sent you it over to read out.
Thank you.
My biggest complication was because I wasn't trying to not let my children have their independence, and be able to grow up. My son wasn't independent from the time he was old enough to start walking. He didn't want help. He wanted to do everything on his own. Now he's went into the Navy. He's down there in, I think, North Carolina or Florida or somewhere around there for boot camp.
Go Navy.
He just graduated this year.
Congratulations.
He turned 18 on the 17th of April and graduated, I think it was May 26th.
Oh, well, thank you for your service.
He graduated exactly 20 years after I did.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was interesting. Well, I was 20 when I had him. I was very young. As they call it, you're an adult when you're 18, but they still classify you as a teenager. Well, that was me. I got pregnant with him when I was 20. I had him when I was 20. And the only reason we found out that I was pregnant was because my mom kept saying, "You're pregnant." No, I'm not. I was having periods like I was supposed to. Nothing was out of the norm. I took many a pregnancy test and I only had one that ever came up positive. So I was arguing with my mom and I'm going, I'm not pregnant. There's no way I'm pregnant. Well, finally, I made an appointment with the gynecologist or OBGYN, and I was pregnant.
Surprise!
I was 13 weeks and 3 days. And if I wouldn't have went into the hospital, I would have never known I was pregnant until I went into labor at the hospital, till my water broke and I went into labor. And then it would have been, me trying to figure out exactly what was going on, because it took so much to find out that I was pregnant. And I think I went from, because I had the mindset of what I was told in school, because I didn't have a regular period, the same time every month. Mine was mixed match and scattered, and sometimes I go 2 months without a period and stuff that, I didn't think that I would ever get pregnant. I
Mhm.
thought, you know, because of what I had been told in school and stuff, the likelihood that I was ever going to get pregnant was probably about slim to none. Well, you know, that kind of proved me wrong.
Just a little
I now
bit.
have-
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, Siders and Gary Jr., they're, possibly, and I'm not trying to psychoanalyze them because I can't stand when people psychoanalyze, and we're not completely sure, but I think they are mentally stunted at
Absolutely.
that age. And
I agree with that.
think that she and him and all of them, with all these children, I mean, are very overwhelmed. Now, that does not take away from the conditions that they were living in, and the responsibility that they do have as parents. So you can be a victim and a perpetrator. I don't know if,
Thank you, Michelle.
and also their education level, you know, the courts are going to look at that, the education level for sure.
Right.
Because again, 8th grade education and life skills. You know, I think that's why they've stayed a lot of times with Gary Jr.'s parents,
you.
is they lacked life skills because they didn't have any. They were so young when they had started having these children back to back to back to back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, education is an issue in these areas, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
I think that,
I don't know as much about Ohio, but I know West Virginia, we're really far down the ranks as far as education goes.
and I think that with that lack of education, there's an increase in poverty in these areas, right?
Oh, yeah.
A lack of
Yeah.
resources for these more impoverished areas, right? And I think that we need to start focusing on these areas, right? We need to start focusing on the education in these areas. Sometimes I wonder if these parents aren't just trying to sign their kids over because they can't deal with the responsibility anymore, and it's easier to make the child somebody else's responsibility, you know? Now think about it. Everyone wants to sit there and say that Gary Siders is some kind of like dirtbag because he was 18 and he married her and she was 15. But I mean, let's be real. We were just talking about, what do we even know at 18, right? Wasn't he a kid himself? He was also a child.
Yeah, and it's not like there was a big age gap. I think it's only like 3 years, 15 to 18. Yeah, it's like 3 years.
Now, I do
So, I mean,
believe
it's
that
not-
there is a big difference between a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old, right? However, I mean, I still believe 18-year-old is a kid, and I think that his parents are just as responsible. I mean, but again, it seems to be a norm in this area, and that's something that I feel that we need to bring awareness to and work on.
Well, like where I'm from, you know, and you too, Ivory, we're from a city where they have public transportation. So if you are to get a job or, you know, end up going to like college courses, there is a bus you can take. Whereas out there, they're kind of, you know, if you don't have a car, you don't have a ride, you don't got a job, you don't get to go to, you know, college.
Right.
A lot of times. And so,
and then what jobs are available in these areas? You know, a lot of these areas have just these big, you know, these big factories is usually what happens, or mining in some way. But they don't have a lot of resources as far as jobs, you know? And I think that, listen, I get the city needs money, or the state needs federal funds to take care of these kids, but I need the state also to focus on federal funds to take care of the problems you have in your state, in your counties, right? Like, let's start there and let's stop this from happening anymore. How about that? How about we all work on prevention of this stuff happening?
I'm interested in their sexual education, what they teach, because like here, it's so different in Mississippi. They teach abstinence, which I don't think is proper in this day and age, honestly. Whereas in Washington, they, you know, teach protection and stuff like that and prevention. So I'm curious over there what they were in 8th grade, so they didn't go up to high school with the, the whole sexual education classes.
But now that's
Well,
also where it comes that you have to take a lot of the responsibility of raising your children off the school system, right? We're responsible for what our kids know when it comes to stuff like being sexually active and being, you know what I mean? At some point, though, we also got to put the responsibility on ourselves and shouldn't hold the schools accountable. I don't know that my school should be responsible for teaching that to my children. I will teach it the way I feel necessary, the way I feel that they can understand it in the best way. And again, you're right, in certain areas, you know what I mean? Like you have to kind of, there's a difference in how you would teach it, right? Like you can sit there and say that it just don't do it, or you can sit there and say, hey, you know what, you're going to be in these experiences, don't do it. But if you do, can I teach you how to be safe and be smart and,
Yeah, and I think like that's the problem with parents though, and
Yeah.
they expect the school to teach them everything, especially like sexual education, because it can be an uncomfortable topic. But honestly, as a parent, that is your responsibility to teach that. Like, listen, like my mom always said, I don't want you to, but if you do, let me know. I won't ask any questions, and we'll get you on birth control, because I'm not going to be a grandma while you're a teenager, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of an open, where it's not accusatory, because I think that's why kids don't say anything to their parents and ask questions. It's uncomfortable, and they feel like they're going to be in trouble.
What age do you start teaching? What age are the kids over in America? What age are they when they start being taught sex education?
I want to say it starts in about the 7th grade here in my state. But they go very lightly into it, and as they get older, it gets a little bit more involved.
Is when it gets serious.
Yeah.
They actually start from the age of 5 over here.
You said 5?
Yeah, they start teaching sex education from the age of 5.
That's interesting. But I could,
That's more anatomy though.
Yeah, there's a campaign, because I helped with it, where do some visuals for it. There's a campaign about like not let, so it's called the Pants campaign. So it's about pants, if you get the drift, and how there's a song of how you don't let people mess with anywhere that's covered by pants, and that's like aimed at 5 or 6. So it's more about, like Samantha said, it's about an area, but it's called the Pants Song, and there is a song that goes with it, and like a pamphlet and everything. So that is done, but it's more about like not that they're on your part. I don't know how, I'm trying to think of the song. I'm not going to sing it, but I'll find it and send it to someone. But it's more about how you don't let people. That's your body, and you don't. And it's more about that than actual having something. It's more about people touching you inappropriately, but it's done in a song, like Barney type thing. Like a song for kids about. And that's called Pants campaign. Like pants, that's good. But yeah, it's actually called Pants.
The other question I've got is, going back to the kids and the state wanting to take custody of the kids full time.
Mm-hmm.
Is there such thing as what we call it here? The kids are given like in Africa, who are solely assigned to children, for them to give the children a voice on what their wishes are and stuff.
They should, but that doesn't always happen, unfortunately. But there's supposed to be a child advocate for each type of case like that. Now, with how they choose to do that, I don't know. That's just like in court, I don't know if this case has it or not, but most generally, cases involving children, usually they have what they call a attorney ad litem, which is specifically for the children.
Yeah.
Oh, they call it a guardian ad litem.
Yeah.
They call it attorney ad litem.
Yeah, over here it's called a guardian ad litem.
We call
which
it,
is
in my state, we
basically
call it a
social
guardian ad
worker.
litem as well.
Yeah, which is basically a social worker that's not a social worker, but they are, if you know what I mean, and they're assigned to children, which they give them a voice. Well, supposed to, but
Yeah.
I mean, I know from a personal point of view, my niece, which was actually my brother's daughter, my sister actually adopted her, and she was actually given a guardian ad litem as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, they're here in my state, they're called guardian ad litems, and they're attorneys that are appointed to children.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like, you know, with these states and all the different rules and law, I mean, everyone needs to get on some kind of, you know, wavelength here, right? We need to figure out what we consider to be some kind of national guidelines, right? I don't think states should be able to differentiate, because then you're creating issues. You're giving people outlets, like someone, you know, I don't even know what happens in Vegas, but you know, someone was mentioning Vegas before, how their rules are like completely different over there in Nevada. But again, I feel like these kids, what is the best for the kids, right? Like if these parents, if these parents, deciders, really were just victims of a lack of education, a lack of resources, overwhelming situations, bad choices, right? Bad choices come with a lack of education, because everyone keeps saying, well, they decided to have 16 kids. Why did they keep having children? Well, that goes right along with the lack of education and bad choices, right? Like,
Mental health.
yeah. Mental health resources. We know that nationwide here, in the United States,
Oh,
we
yeah,
know that
it's
mental health
bad.
resources lack seriously.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's really what I feel like we have to focus on. And when it comes to these,
So they're basically trying to force, not force, they're trying to make the Elizabeth and Gary Jr. hand over basically the rights to their children,
More or less.
to the state.
they're not
More or
looking
less.
for them to hand over. They're looking
They wanna
for the
terminate.
state to completely terminate their parental rights, which
They want to take them
I
completely away.
absolutely understand if it's necessary, but how do we know it's necessary without seeing a trial? We don't even know what they're guilty of yet, or if they're guilty, and they are trying to request these children. And again, I think that as for that state looking for federal funds for these kids, the counties looking for funds for these children, I think for them, I think that they're running a narrative here as well. Are they really concerned about the children? Because if you were really concerned about the children, you'd be more apt to be concerned about the parents, how the situation got here, and prevention, than you would be about, well, we can ask the federal government for millions, and these kids are money makers, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Cash
I
cow.
think they're, yeah,
They're cash
more or
cows,
less in a sense.
aren't they? Yeah.
yeah. They're with the, unfortunately, I think what the state of Ohio is trying to do, and I say the state because CPS involves the state. And I think, in my personal opinion, they're trying to use the siders as a fix-all. And what I mean by that is, if they make a poster more or less about, you know, how they felt these children and how, you know, we terminated their rights for their failure of taking care of their children, they think that that will make people reflect and try and do better. And I don't think that that's going to go the way they want it to.
Yeah, I agree.
So do you think they're going to try and use Elizabeth and Gary as example?
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. I couldn't think of the word, but yeah, I think they're going to try to use them as an example And they think that by doing that, by prosecuting them for said crimes, that'll be an example for the whole state of Ohio, maybe even the whole United States. And that's not going to solve anything, because there's been several cases, where something similar has happened to children. There was one last year in Detroit, Michigan, I think, where a mother left her children in an apartment that she was renting and was bringing the kids groceries, and she wasn't even stepping foot inside the house or taking care of them. And it was like that for 4 years before the cops got called.
Yeah, you see, these, first of
I
all,
get the tiredness, I really do. Because like when my son was born, he was born with his cord wrapped around his neck twice and around his shoulders, and he was actually doing that to give him oxygen. And for the first, oh God, I don't know how long, he was only taking an ounce to feed. So I was having to feed him on demand. And even now, he doesn't sleep right through the night. He has to have medication to help him sleep at night, to help him drift off to sleep. And he's 23 now?
oh wow.
And he still doesn't sleep right through the night. I mean, sometimes I woke up at night, because my kid's got a PlayStation, and the times I woke up at night and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, I see him sign into the PlayStation. It's like, nah.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I get like I said, I get the tiredness, because like, if he was awake, I have to be awake, and it's
exhausting, and it's it takes a toll. Yeah.
Oh, I definitely agree. I have 5 children ranging between 18 and 5 years old. So,
I mean, he's got autism, ADHD, global developmental delay. Although he's 20 odd now, he hasn't got the mindset of that age. It's more of, like, maybe a 12-year-old now. But he goes to respite, just like over here. You can send the children to respite if they've got special needs. You can apply for respite, and he goes to respite Monday to Friday. Goes home weekends.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen with this case, but this one is going to be, guys, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be, I'm curious to see.
It's going to be another tough one.
Yeah.
The Lindsay Clancy case, that's going to be a tough one as well.
Well, let's talk about that one. So, Lindsay Clancy, where are we with this case? So, opening statements start on Monday with Patrick Clancy, her husband. They're coming out with a bang, right? And so he's going to be the first one to speak. We're going to do our best, guys, to stream it, because we all want to be there. I don't know if Jamie decided whether or not she's going to go, but if Jamie's in here or somebody, no, I'm just kidding. We also know that the judge approved the request to keep the 911 call and the autopsy pictures of the children private. So
what about the clothing one?
Which
clothing? There was
clothing?
something about clothing, and I thought, well, if it's just the clothing that they were wearing, but I was like, if it's just I know it's going to have some marks on it. It's not got the kid in it. Yeah. So for my autistic head, I'm thinking, well, that's just clothes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I didn't say
really
any.
Get that one when they asked for that one. Because it's just a t-shirt with some red on or whatever it is. It's not like protecting the kids or anything, because they're not in them. It's just the dad didn't want the clothing shown, and I thought that was a little bit far. I don't know.
I'm not sure if they're including the clothing in with the autopsy photos. That I will check on. That I'm not sure. I agree with them, though. I don't think the autopsy photos are necessary. We're not trying to figure out whether or not she's guilty, right? We're not looking for evidence on these bodies. We're just showing them for information. And so I agree with the autopsy photos. People don't need to see them, right? We know she's guilty. She admitted to the guilt. She admitted to what she did. I don't think it's necessary for them
Oh,
to
did
be
she
out and
admit
about.
to it?
Yeah, she's saying that she did it. The question
I
of guilt
think the
and
jury, I think the jury, it should be very.
so the jury will see them, but they will keep it
Yeah,
privately
but the
otherwise.
public should,
Mhm.
public don't need to see them.
No.
I totally agree with you on that.
To be completely honest with you, I don't think the jury needs to see them. I think that it would be fine for the jury just to read the autopsy report because again, we're not looking for evidence to see if she did it, right? We're just trying to get an overall picture of what happened. So I agree with that. However, the 911 call, I don't agree with. I feel like the 911 call is public record. That should be played. I get it hurts his feelings. I'm sorry,
The
but
911 call won't have the kids in it because I'm sorry, it's not like, so for me, and I get it, and I don't want to make it sound wrong, but it's not. So say we talked about the 16 children, right? They're here, yeah. Their like identity and everything, like I said before, needs protecting for for that people don't know, they might change the names or whatever, right?
right.
As horrible as it is, them kids aren't here, right? And so when it says about it says something about pictures, but we've already had pictures out with the faces on. I've seen the pictures, yeah.
So right.
So I don't know whether it's hard to say. I just felt like, is he trying to protect himself more and his life more? Then because actually we know who they are. They're not here to have that like lots where nobody knows the names and stuff, because in England, like they're called baby A, baby B, or whatever, what if they're under a certain age, but that's usually when they're here, when they're just not, when they've survived, not when. So I don't know. And then this is just my black and white thinking. I get it about the autopsy.
Baby P had passed, hadn't he? When
we just have letters.
Yeah.
But I've never heard it when they're not here, because it's like I get they're trying to protect it, but they're not going to hear it, are they? Because they're not here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't want to sound like, but that's why my head is going. Well, who are you trying to protect?
Yeah.
That's what I'm not showing it.
I think, I don't know if it's more for like mental health issues. I don't know if it's just that he just wants to, wants his own privacy with that. I get it. So I don't know why the 911 call would be out, but I don't feel like it should be. Guys.
It's not like it's not going to be distressing with the kids screaming.
No, because the kids weren't there.
Is it? We're not going to hear that.
No,
so
you may hear.
A kid in distress.
You may hear Lindsay's voice though.
Yeah.
Guys, do me a favor. Sam, take over. I'll be right back, guys. Give me 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna play.
Are they trying to protect themselves, the adults, or the children?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah. Obviously, he's moved on now. He's got a new relationship. He's got, apparently, this is allegedly, guys, that he's got a new baby.
I'm just curious on what the defense is going to question and the prosecution.
I don't really get that, Sam. How he can be a witness for the prosecution and the defense at the same time. I really don't get that. Because over here, it's one or the other. You don't.
I think the prosecution might try to trip him up with her. And then the defense, of course, they're going to, because he stood by her and he's been around with them, the medications and everything like that. We'll try to, not spin it, but state it as she did try to get help. It was a psychotic, episode of postpartum psychosis. And I think the prosecution is going to look at it as are we sure? How was she prior? You know, was it really a psychosis or is that just an excuse?
Yeah. It's going to be a tough one. Either way, I mean, I wouldn't want to be a juror on that panel. I really wouldn't. Because I'd have to, my emotions would run high and
I wanted to play, hold on one second. I wanted to play the Patrick Clancy, his like little interview really quick because I know people were asking and wanted to see it.
yeah, I'm going to drop down though, Ivory, because finish well, but I just finished my buzzball, which is pretty lethal.
All right. Thank you, Faithless. All right, guys, let me see if I can play this and I'll share it to you guys as well.
A buzzball is like a fishbowl type thing. It's a drink, by the way.
Oh, I was wondering.
Secret. No, it's a buzzball. It's quite strong and it looks like little, but it's really like when you do have punch, it's really strong. So it's the latest buzz thing in the UK. You only need one. Yeah.
That's so funny. All right, let me see. Actually, you know what? Maybe I won't show it and you guys can on here can just listen to it because y'all on TikTok are vicious. Y'all get me hit for everything. Do me a favor, guys, tap, 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 and then I will play this just because I thought it was super interesting.
Really know the extent of how she was emotionally having a hard time in school.
The husband of a Duxbury mother who is accused of killing their 3 children says his wife is not a monster. In an interview with the New Yorker magazine, Patrick Clancy opened up about his wife and the deaths of their 3 young children. Thank you for joining us. I'm David Wade.
And I'm Lisa Hughes. The crime and the loss of 3 young lives shook the Duxbury community. WBZ's Louisa Moeller joins us live in studio now. And Louisa, this interview, in this, Patrick Clancy describes what he saw in the months before the tragedy.
Lisa, David, Patrick describes seeing Lindsay go from hyper attentive with the births of her first 2 kids to suffering from anxiety, insomnia, and intrusive thoughts with her third. Now, this article is a heart-wrenching telling of what happened from his point of view and the confusion around how society handles maternal mental health and comprehends this kind of tragedy. Here's Patrick Clancy's own words to a reporter at The New Yorker. There's no house anymore. There are no kids. All that's left is me and Lindsay. His wife, Lindsay Clancy, currently living in a psychiatric hospital awaiting trial for strangling their 3 kids, ages 5, 3, and 8 months, before attempting her own suicide. I wasn't married to a monster. I was married to someone who got sick. More than a year and a half later, Patrick still contends that his wife was not in her right mind. Prosecutors say Lindsay Clancy researched ways to kill on her phone and sent Patrick to get takeout from a restaurant that was farther away than usual. Lindsay said she suffered from a moment of psychosis after hallucinating and hearing a voice that told her to kill herself and the children. If I could go back in time, I'd have called McLean and said, take her away, lock the door, keep her in there for a year if you have to. According to The New Yorker, Lindsay was hospitalized at McLean, a psychiatric facility. The article states she was on 13 psychiatric drugs over 4 months, but fewer in the days leading up to the killings. Patrick said none of her mental health providers warned him of postpartum psychosis.
Had Googled postpartum depression, had reached out to her doctors, had gone to 2 Gold Star facilities that deal with mental illness.
Jamie Belcito, the founder of the Maternal Mental Health Alliance, who had her own battle with postpartum depression, says the Clancy tragedy shows that gaps in postpartum mental health treatment persist. She says screening for postpartum psychosis, which impacts roughly 4,000 new moms a year in the U.S., is critical.
How do we let the families know ahead of time? Grandma, grandpa, the partner, everybody. And then how can we make it that women are getting screened well before that 6-week follow-up appointment at the OB/GYNs.
Did you plan this? Is that why you sent me out? She said no, it was just like a snap of the fingers. Patrick told The New Yorker the couple has finally started communicating more after 6 months of silence. She misses her kids, which I know sounds crazy to some people, but that's the reality. Now, in August, Governor Healy just signed into law a sweeping maternal health bill. Coming up at 6, we'll look at how that addresses the mental health of.
See, I think that for Lindsay Clancy, one of the best things she's got going for her is the fact that her husband, or her ex-husband now, right, because they're divorced, does support her, and understands that it was mental illness, and that's the reason why this happened. I see so many people in my y'all, they come hard. These people, nobody is willing to even for a second think that this woman was possibly underneath a psychosis, that this woman maybe didn't understand at the time what she was doing, or, in our reality, people are refusing to even consider that. And I don't know why, when there's such especially in the last few years, we're talking about postpartum depression, mental health, the importance of it, what can happen if, it gets out of control. And then when it actually does happen, people are just not willing to give it the time of day. You disagree? You don't think she was? Tiffany, you don't think that she was in a psychotic episode? Like, you think that she did it on purpose?
Typically I would disagree, but with the medications, that's just alarming to me. And postpartum, that's a dangerous mix. You mix those medications, you mix lack of sleep, and you mix depression. It's a dangerous mix where you can have a mental snap.
So perfectly misaligned said, my thing is, if she had postpartum psychosis, she immediately asked if she needed a lawyer, no remorse at all. So you do understand that when you're in a psychotic episode, it doesn't just, you're not stuck in it, you can come out of it. She absolutely afterwards understood what she did, and what she did was wrong. So I don't think her asking for a lawyer it proves anything to the fact that she didn't know what she was doing at the time. She very well could have been aware after the fact, right? Which makes sense. It aligns with the whole psychosis thing. What makes you think, Tiffany, that she was aware of everything? I'm curious. Two things can be true. I feel like if she wanted to purposely kill the children, what was the motive? Like, why not just kill yourself? She researched how long it took her husband to do the things. Yeah. Well, number one, that can happen in psychosis, right? That makes sense that she would need him to be out of the house, because she knew even in her psychosis that he would have stopped her, and she needed to do and carry out this crime, right? This situation. So that also makes sense to me. Also, it's very possible that she wasn't in the psychosis yet, and she just really wanted to know. She knew she was hearing voices that day. She knew something was wrong. She very well could have just been like, how long am I going to be alone with the kids? Like, I'm not going to lie. How many of us have sent our husbands out and we're like, how long is this going to take them? I've been that person. You know what I mean? Like, we should be back in 15, 20 minutes.
My husband and son, they went to go do the Amazon delivery thing, and I got Life 360, and I'm not going to lie, it's kind of nice with them gone. So I don't mind them here, but it gets where I just want to be, like, I've got toddlers, but like, I just want to be alone.
Yeah. You just want to know how much time you get for yourself.
Yeah, and the Life 360, I can see, like, okay, they're almost home, or okay, I've got another hour to just watch what I want on TV. Eat my chips and candy without sharing, or anything like that. Dye my hair without,
Yeah.
What are you doing? Not that, I don't know.
So Tiffany says, so she knew she shouldn't have sent him out. So I'm sorry, I don't believe it was postpartum depression. Well, I don't believe it was definitely, I think it was psychosis. But yeah, she knew, they knew for a while. She told the doctor, she told him, she told everybody that she was concerned about the fact that she could harm the children. She admitted that to people. Like, why would somebody who was going to plan to kill somebody say, hey guys, I think I'm going to kill somebody before they did it? It makes no sense.
Yeah, and she admitted that she heard voices, right?
Yes.
Prior to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So where does that land? And that's kind of with this trial. Again, like you've said, Ivory, she's not disputing that she's guilty.
No.
She's disputing of, should I go to a mental institution or prison? Basically.
Right. So Paula said, why didn't they have food delivered to the home? That's a good question. I don't know, but I do know he had to go out and get the, and again, I guess people do DoorDash. I'm not one of those people that DoorDash things.
He had to go pick up a prescription.
Right.
CVS.
Well, it wasn't a prescription. It was just a laxative for her.
A laxative, yeah.
But, and again, I'm not one of those people. My first thought is not to have things delivered to my house. I do know people who get everything delivered to their house. Although, for some reason, I'm just not one person that thinks along that line.
That's me.
You get everything delivered?
Yeah, but only because I can't go out and leave the other two. So sometimes I have to, yeah. But I do get shopping delivered because I can't take them on my own.
Yeah, see, my first reaction, my first thought isn't to have somebody deliver it. I don't know why. You know what I mean? Like, I would never think like, oh, I need something from the store. Let me have them deliver it.
Adult, so
Yeah.
there's no other adults that can drive. You know, so if I can't go out, then we have to have it delivered. But obviously, there were more than one. I mean, at least two adults that could go out of the house.
Yeah. So you really think that there's no way that she was in a psychosis, Tiffany? I feel like, I mean, they let her take the daughter to the doctor that morning, right? Like, so she knew she was hearing voices, but I mean, what was she going to do? She still had to take care of the children and do the everyday things. I think, and again, this is where I go back to people preaching about get help because this is what postpartum depression can cause. But when it presents itself, right, nobody wants to admit that that's what it is. Why is there such a refusal to admit that it could possibly have been a psychosis? I personally think this is a textbook case of psychosis. She was making decisions based on delusion. Right. Exactly, Megan, which equals psychosis. Absolutely. Like in my, go ahead.
That's what I would say. When you've got a goal, you just do it. And if she thought that, you know, if she was trying to, but also through my daughter, you do things to try and stop the voice. So you do go out and you do try and engage, and you do. My daughter plays music to try and drown her voice out and things like that. So I presume that that's what she was trying to do, was trying to get rid of or shape the feeling or try and snap herself out of it by doing what she would do.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, like my cousin, he unalived his mother and stepfather at 15, and I know that's horrible. There were not that was excusable. There was a lot of things done to him and his brothers, but he did hear voices. And when he first went to court, he was guilty not by insanity. They had to take him back to court, and he was guilty by insanity and spent 25 years in a mental institution. And he did hear voices. It was a snap. He snapped that day, and unfortunately did what he did. And he was, he had enough. It was, I don't know, he was on antipsychotics the rest of his life too, because of abuse.
Yeah. Miss Heidi says she isn't looking for no consequences for her actions. Hospital, not jail, is what she's looking for. Absolutely, Heidi. Same thing with, now I've heard on the streets of social media, right, that people keep saying that she Googled how to kill. Has anybody seen any proof of that? I have not seen any proof that woman Googled how to kill.
Was it not that she Googled how can you cure, or is it possible to cure a psychopath or something like that? I've heard on YouTube.
I believe it was something that she Googled along the lines of, and this is not an exact quote, but I do believe she Googled something along the lines of how to know you're a psychopath. And so those are completely different searches, right? To sit there and say, well, she's guilty because she searched how to kill, and to say, you know what I mean? And when she actually searched, and again, I've seen where it said in the records that she searched, am I a psychopath, or how to know when you're a psychopath. I have not seen anything saying that she Googled how to kill somebody. And those are two completely different searches. For her to sit there and Google, how do I know I'm a psychopath, or how to know when you're a psychopath? Oh, see, Miss Heidi, I did. To Google that means that she was aware that something was seriously wrong with her. And so, you know, she was trying to come up with an answer.
I think with her being a nurse, it's like she was looking for a checklist, like what I would do. So I would go, you know, blah, 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 and there's like things you go through, then it puts you through. So for me, she's probably looking for what do they say you need to have if you're doing this, and trying to see if she was having them symptoms, because like a checklist, I think. So that's what I would do. I'd look for a checklist somewhere. Do you do that? Do you do that? Do you do that? You know, like for autism or whatever.
Yeah.
Who hasn't Googled though? Am I something? Am I a
Listen.
narcissist? You know, is it me or them? Am I sick? Do I have a flu? Or, you know, am I let me take this self-test. Do I have autism?
Listen,
that type of thing. So,
I am a true crime content creator, and sometimes just to get the right answer, to make the question easier to type into Google, I will ask in first person. And if you went through my Google search, man, it's wild. It's wild. You know what I mean? Like, what would happen if I cut off somebody's knees? Meanwhile, it's because I'm talking about a case where somebody, their legs were cut off at the knees. But, you know, I'm asking what would happen if I cut off somebody's knees. I ain't cutting off nobody's knees. But if you read my Google search, I'm getting the white jacket. I'm getting the padded room. I'm getting a life sentence. You're all going to look at me like I'm nuts because of the way I asked the question for Google, you know, with as least words as possible. However, I've never cut off anyone's knees. I've never put anybody in a body bag. I've never chopped anybody's finger off. And what would I do with it after I kill them? Like, but those are my searches because that's what I search for true crime. So again, I'm never going to judge anybody on their Google search history. I'm just saying, because I definitely don't want it done for mine. So there's that.
To delete everybody's like me and my best friend has a pact to have certain photos if anything happens, and you know, like her ex-boyfriends when she's with him. So we have a thing where we have a box, and there's only one person knows what that box is, and then she needs to get rid of it and vice versa. One of us is not here anymore, so we have a pact to delete everything from our youth.
when my dad passed away, he was a drug user, and thankfully his friend goes, let me go through his room and take anything that you guys wouldn't want to see out. And we were so thankful because we don't want to tarnish and have that memory of like, oh my gosh, she had this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great of him to do that. Like, he spent 2 hours going through making sure there wasn't anything that we didn't want to see or any substances in there that we shouldn't have seen. And then we got to go and clean out his room and everything like that. So I was just piggybacking off of that. But yeah, Google search. I don't see that as something weird. I see that as just, you want to know. Like,
I see that as more of a defense for her than,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Than like anything that makes her look guilty. I know people are looking for things to make her look guilty, but why would she kill her kids? Somebody tell me what the motivation would be.
Because I was thinking when I did that timeline thing today, and I was thinking when like it was like she went this and she went that. Can you imagine if someone just picked one of our days apart? But it's only because of what happened that people are picking what she did apart in the day. You know what I mean? So can you imagine if someone went, oh yeah, then you know this person went to there and the you know didn't pay for the apple or whatever, and it just went through because I was reading it and I was going, but so they're normal only because you know what happened after. That people are like trying to dissect it more because we know what the end thing was, don't we? But whereas it's just a normal day, really, up until that point for me, where they went and what they did was just normal.
Yeah, I feel like you take anything and kind of twist it to make it what you want it to be, right? And so I think that there's a lot of that happening. You know what I mean? Like, well, she planned it. Well, yeah, she was psychotic because who in their right mind plans killing their kids? Like, I really like look at it objectively, but I want people to understand if this woman truly needs help, she's begged for help for months, for what, years, right? She begged for help. Isn't it about time we give the woman help? Like, if that's all she wants, she's living in her own hell right now. So I feel like give the woman the help that she needs. She's not asking to get out of jail and walk around, you know, she's not to live her life. She's not asking for any of that. She's asking to be hospitalized for what happened. So I think people need to approach this with, we can't sit there and talk about how much we know about postpartum depression and the possibility of postpartum psychosis. And these are the red flags. And this is what you got to watch out for. And this is what you do if you experience this, go get help. And then when somebody does and the system fails them, then we're refusing to see the red flags. Put yourself in her position. Go and take everything you know about everything she did and all the times. And it wasn't that she asked for help once a month, once every 2 months. She asked for help every few days, calling hospitals, admitting herself, calling hotlines, calling doctors, trying new medications. She literally searched nonstop for help. This woman didn't plan this for a year. That's just, she wasn't admitting herself in preparation for the potential trial after I kill my kids for absolutely no reason. She was legitimately begging for help. Put yourself in her position for 1 second and go through her timeline. Like, what else were people expecting her to do? And you can't sit there and say, well, why did she take the children's lives? Why not just take her own then? What did she benefit killing her kids?
Do you think as well, for me, did she do what she did and then realize? I'm just thinking in that split second after that, because it only takes a split second as well, people, you know, doing things. But what is that split second when she jumped? Did she do it and then have, you know what I mean? Because it would be quite a shock to the system and a shock to, because again, if she's done what the voice is saying, then the voice will stop because she's satisfied that. So if the voice was saying do X, Y, and Z, and she did that, did she have some, oh my God, do you know what I mean? And then, because I don't know, that bit in between for me, we're never going to know, but that, whether it's minutes or whatever in between doing what she did and then going through the window.
Right. You just said to satisfy the voices, but you know the voices were telling her to kill the children and herself.
Yeah, I know.
You know? And again, like, and she did exactly that. I could see if she wasn't suicidal, but she kept saying she was going to kill herself. You know what I mean? Like, so it fits the plan that she had. It fits the complaint she had all along. Harming the children and hurting herself. She was stating that the whole time.
Yeah, but it's when did she have that realization of what she'd done? When she woke up in the hospital, or, you know, when was that when did that happen for her?
Right.
You know, when she realized I've done this, do you know what I mean?
But does it matter?
No, it don't matter.
I'm just asking, you know what I mean? Like, I'm curious. Yeah.
When it dawned on her what she'd done, that's all.
Yeah, I'm curious to know that. That's a good question.
Or when she was, you know, because I know she was unconscious, and I don't know, you know, if she was unconscious till she got there, and I don't know that bit.
Yeah, I'm curious.
just-
I don't know. That
I
is a
know
good
some
question,
people
though.
said she woke up and said, "Do I need a lawyer straight away?" But I'm not sure if that's true. That's just what they said when it happened years ago. I watched a couple of them, but I don't know if that's true.
She wrote it on a notepad.
Oh yeah, because she couldn't speak.
Brittany,
did she?
thank you
Yeah.
for the
Was she
follow.
actually in a coma for a bit, or was I don't?
It does
I
say
need to go
that
back
she
and
was
watch it.
unconscious. They lost her and brought her back. It said that
Wow.
in her paperwork.
Okay. You tell someone that as well.
Yeah. And then I know people are saying that, like, the way she looks. I mean, what are we expecting a woman who killed her kids in a possible psychotic episode, or even if it wasn't psychotic? Like, what are we expecting her to look like, or to present herself at as court? What does the public think is appropriate presentation of herself at court? Should she cry? Should she not cry? If she cried, we'd all be like, why are you crying? Look at her faking. If she doesn't cry, then it's like, look, she's not crying, so she must be guilty. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is the public looking for as far as her presenting herself in court? I'm curious.
Well, of course she's going to be on some things, isn't she? Because she's probably in pain and that as well. Said she's got 2 nurses there and things, so surely she's on some sort of pain medication, even if she's not on anything else.
Yeah.
So some people are saying, "How out is she? Or what do you expect?" You know what I mean? And she's going to be on something, isn't she?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The goalposts will change regardless. Yeah, absolutely. I just feel like my understanding of this, I just don't understand why people are so unwilling to even consider the fact that this woman wasn't in her right mind, that this could have been. And Sam brought up a really great point yesterday. Now I want everyone to stop and listen to this and think about it for a second. If this was a man, a veteran who was in a war and had PTSD and went into a psychotic break and killed his children because he couldn't control it, would we see it differently? Would he be less guilty than would we give him the benefit of the doubt? Like, is the fact that postpartum, as serious as it is, just not good enough? Like, if it was somebody else, like if it was a man, or if it was a vet who did it because of that reason, was in a psychotic break because of PTSD, would that be more acceptable to people? Would you be more willing to think of it as a possible psychosis episode?
Probably.
Well, and if you think about it, if the vet is listed and they are rated for PTSD, if they do something like that, it'd be very easy to claim insanity for a vet as well.
Yeah.
So for her to have this mental health, and then the record showing, okay, she's taking this medication, this blah, 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 postpartum depression or whatever they labeled it as. Is there a difference between a vet and post-traumatic stress, or her with postpartum depression? Both are bad.
Yeah, I feel like the stigma with postpartum issues, postpartum mental health, there's a big stigma there that people, as much as you want to talk about it, bring awareness to it, you're unwilling to accept it. Now, Landslide just said we would give him the benefit of the doubt. I agree with that. You know, which is not fair, because someone's trauma is someone's trauma, right? Someone going through something, her trauma is her mental health. And so I feel like, you know, I don't know if it's because people are just unwilling to accept that, you know, mothers just should know better. It's because I saw someone in my comments earlier, and they were coming at me going, well, that she was the mother and those were her children. She should have knew better. No, she's guilty. And I'm like, even if she couldn't help it, well, she's their mother. But mothers also suffer from mental health and can go into psychotic episodes where they're in a different reality, right? So why are people so unwilling to accept a mental health disorder? Mothers are not, I don't know if there's this picture where a mother is just supposed to be the protector, the mother, that's the biologic, connection between the children. Like, but we can't accept that.
Even, isn't it? Your mum's your protector, your mum's, like I said yesterday, people don't want to think that this is what having a child does. I mean, can you imagine someone being pregnant now, hearing this?
Yeah.
Say someone, how on it's a first baby, how scared they must be about, because it's meant to just click when you have a child, and it doesn't. I know it doesn't, but that's what we get told. That's what society's made us into, these super women that aren't supposed to struggle, and that's with anything. I feel anyway, because I always get told you're so strong. Well, what else am I meant to do? It's just me. I've got to get up and do what I need to do, whether I feel like crap or not. So when people say that, I go, well, of course I am, because I've got to. And it just seems a silly question, because what else could I do with my kids? And I just think it's a stigma, isn't it? It's still to this day a stigma for this type of psychosis, I think.
Yeah. Purple, do you know you're up here?
Yes, I do. I was just waiting for the young lady to finish, that's all.
All right, just making sure.
To come up. I was going to say that I think a lot of people they don't understand postpartum depression or psychosis. They don't want to.
Yeah.
They want to think that, every mother has their child and is automatically, instantaneously in love with the child.
Yep.
And it doesn't work that way most times, but there are times that it doesn't. I mean, Lindsay Clancy reminds me so much of Andrea Yates.
Yes, I agree.
Another.
It's the same way.
Yeah, there was another lady. I forget her name. It's like Pacho or something like that, her last name. And this happened in 2015. And she unalived her three kids from postpartum. And her husband stuck by her, and he said, I put everything on her because I thought she could handle it, and she couldn't. And she got I think she's in a mental institution as well because of the psychosis.
Yeah. I feel, I think the expectations of mothers, the expectations placed upon us by husbands, by schools, by physicians, by just everybody in general, right? The mother is just expect to be the person that runs it all and just has all the answers and, just takes the brunt of everything. And I don't think
we're supposed to be the brains for everyone else.
Yes, I don't think people understand that kind of responsibility. You know what I mean? And now you throw mental health upon that responsibility. And again, we're not perfect creatures, right? We suffer from mental health. We can get depressed. We have hormones. I don't think people definitely don't understand, or men don't understand the hormonal aspect to it, right? Like we deal with that too. On top of it, things can get, something that's so sad and emotional gets 20 times worse for us because our hormones are playing games with us. Hustling for Humanity, thank you for the follow. I don't think people understand in totality what this woman had on her, as far as still trying to find herself, having to run a family, you know what I mean? Taking care of the kids.
He was begging for someone to help her.
The begging and the constant.
She told them, I'm having adverse reactions from these medications you have me on. I'm having hallucinations, I'm having voices, and you upped the medication instead of decreasing it or taking her off of it. You increased it.
Yeah. I don't understand why they didn't step back, stop it all, and start again. I never understood that when I read that.
You should figure the one med, they literally 24 hours later, she did what she did.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, with any parent, you don't know what goes on in the home, what stresses there are. It's kind of like, for me, if you're not like a parent to a special needs child, but it's hard to explain the exhaustion that you might have.
And then I agree.
So,
and then I'm also going to put this out there. I'm going to jump off that and put this out there. any one of us who had a child, all right, so now you got a baby, you're absolutely exhausted. You might even still be in a little bit of pain. You still, if you have other kids, you're still running a household. They got to eat. Let's be real. My husband can cook one thing, right? My husband really, he just, when it comes to dinner, it's a me thing. When it comes to the shopping, unless I got a picture board, it's a me thing. So I still have a house to run. And I'm, you know what I mean? And I still have this, now I have this newborn baby who's not sleeping. And then let's be real. You also have the relationship. Anybody, I know people think that, you know, having a baby brings you so close to your spouse. Not the truth. The most amount of stress my relationship has ever been under was as soon as I had that baby, because of the exhaustion and because the expectations I think the man has on what a new baby is going to bring, and it's really not that.
It's never the same.
And then you have the, I still want him to be attracted to me. Is he, you know what I mean? Like, you're still trying to be there for him and be the wife for him, doing as much as you can, and you can't do it all, right? And so it's like, you know, you got the stress of trying to keep the relationship going, trying to give him what you feel like he needs, because let's be real, men are needy. They still want to cuddle. They still want to do their thing. Men get jealous of babies. You're cuddling with a baby. Why do you always have the baby? What about me? It happens, right? So now you have all of these stressors, already depression that's there. You got hormones running crazy. Why is it so nuts to think that this woman just couldn't take it all? And her brain was just like, I'm dealing with so many things at once. I got to go hide in a separate reality. I got to give my brain a break. I got to give myself a break. And it went to this alternate place.
Well, and if you think about it, the routine she had, she'd go running, and she was used to the 2 kids. Now it's 3, so that routine changes. She was very routine oriented. And when your routine it changes, you know, that's also a blow to your mental health if you're already struggling. You can't do what you were doing.
Yeah.
Right. For me, it was about keeping the house clean and everything. I didn't need to, but I have to think when people like we have house visitors and the midwives and that, and when they come, you know, the day after, let's say, when you just got out, you know what I mean? So.
And you got to sweep the floor and have the dishes done and make it presentable, because we're women, and when the house is messy, no one's going to say, look at the husband's house. No one's going to say, look at the kid's house. Look at their mess. They're going to say, look at that woman's house, right? Because again, that's our responsibility. It falls on us.
Yeah, see, I got both of my children, he really stepped up, especially when I got pregnant with our second. He had to, because my kids are like 3 years apart, 3.5 years apart. And I got very sick and would spend 8 to 10 days in the hospital at a time sometimes because of my kidneys and the toll that pregnancy took on just my body. So he had to learn on the fly how to make dinners and how to take care of a lot of things that I was usually there to do.
Yeah. That was, you know, my husband really tried. I'm not going to say he didn't. My husband really tried. I just, like, he just didn't have the capability of handling everything at once, right? He never had to. Well, our situation is different too, because my husband was in the Navy. So he was in the military. So, but again, like, he was so used to going away on deployment, and my wife's got everything under control, and all of a sudden this baby comes, and I'm like, a little help, please. And he's just like, I don't know what to do. What do you want me to do?
Let's face it, us as moms, we put a lot of stress on ourselves because, no, let me handle it. I'm the mother. I should be handling this. Right. You know?
Yep.
And
That's
then
me.
you can't, and you feel like a failure because why can't I handle this simple task? Because that's placed on us. We are supposed
or like even when it comes to the house, you know, sometimes we as mothers put ourselves in that position because we think, oh no, it has to be spotless if we're going to have any type of company over. Not realizing that, you know, your true family and your true friends, they're not really going to give a shit one way or another if you got a couple of dishes in the sink or if you haven't ran the sweeper that day.
Right.
They're really not. If they're your true friends and your true family, they're not.
Right. But in our mind, they care, right? Like, and my husband was like, do you want to, my husband is sweet as it, you want to get somebody to come in and clean? I'm like, no, because I got to clean before they get here. And my husband's like, what do you mean you got to clean before they get here? I'm like, I can't let a cleaner come with the house in this condition. I would have to clean before they came. You know?
Because my kids were so close together. made the rule at my house. If you wanted to see my house clean, you had to come after 8 o'clock at night, because I'm not going to sit here and pick up toys after these kids just for them to turn around and get them right back out. I would do my reset every night. Went to bed, I would pick up all their toys and do all that. And everyone knew if you came to my house before that, there were going to be toys on the floor. That's just how it was going to be. Because again, I'm not going to sit here and walk behind my children and then clean up every time they get a toy out and then they don't play with it for a minute. I'm not going to put it away real quick. I'll wait till the end of the night and do all that at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my mum had to come and tell me, because she was like, you're walking behind them, putting everything away. And then they were just tipping them all out, because all my mum was in 5 years, you know. And I was always walking behind them, and my mum was like, what are you doing? Like you say, just do it when they're in bed one, and then, you know.
Yeah, that's what I did. Like, no, I'm not doing this.
And then,
You know, energy that you don't have.
and then look at Lindsay Clancy. Like she got to the point where she had to return to work. Now, I am a nurse. I know how stressful it is to be a nurse. All of my nurses in here know that job is completely stressful in and of itself. And
Can you drop me? Because I just got home and I got to unload my car with the groceries. So
sure, Ken, thank
Can
you,
you drop me?
Purple. You know, then she was looking at going back to work, having to be, the dual working household. You know, husband worked, she worked, having the stress of that on top of you. Like this woman was under massive amounts of stress, and I could see. I had to go back to work, right? I had to work when I had children, and I remember going back. And let's be real, nursing is long shifts, right? Very rarely do we get an 8-hour shift anymore. Now it's like a 12, 16-hour shift. And it's like, you got the stress of, I got to find someone to care for my kids, my newborn, when I'm going back to work, and is it going to happen? And I just feel like the amount of stress placed on on this woman was, I don't understand how anybody just wants to look and bypass the fact that she could have been so overloaded and so overwhelmed, and then hormones and depression on top of it, which depression affects a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to admit it, but depression affects a lot of people, especially in today's day and age where we got social media and we do nothing but compare ourselves to each other. We do nothing but, you know what I mean? Depression is real. It happens to a lot more than people are willing to admit. You know what I mean? And then like all
I
of
love
that.
that you said that about social media, and what you see isn't reality.
No.
Thank you.
Let me tell you something. If you went onto my personal Facebook page, right, you would be like, this woman has got the greatest life. And I do. Don't get me wrong. I have an amazing life. You take the cat out, please. You know what I mean? But like the stuff that I post, thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. The stuff that I post is all of the good stuff, right? I'm not going to sit there and post the mess that my kids left me, the bad stuff. It's like, look, look at the pretty pictures. And that's the stuff that we post, right? Like the good memories, the things we want to focus on, and the things we want to share with people. Like, look at my kids and look how cute, look what they've accomplished. But it doesn't mean that real life doesn't happen. So many people say to me, oh my God, you got the best life. And I'm like, honey, my life is just as chaotic as yours. I promise. I struggle. Me and my husband argue. I mean, he's a great guy, but we argue. You know what I mean? My kids are not perfect. They make messes. They make bad decisions. My house, I would love to say I'm the perfect housekeeper. I get tired. My dishes are in the sink. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we all got bills. Like, I would love to say that I got enough money to sit there and I don't have financial problems. Dude, it's 2026. I pay $100 to fill my gas tank 3 times a week. Like, I promise, we're all in the same struggle. We all have the same expectations. My kids, I got older kids. I got younger kids. My older kids say, Mom, I need your help. Everybody needs mom's help. Like, my life is not some perfect. It's not what you see on my personal, like, I don't post my children and family, you know what I mean, publicly, but it's not what people and my friends and family see that they're comparing them. Like, don't compare it. That picture that you see where you're like, oh my God, you look amazing. Oh my God, yeah, I did that one for that 10 minutes until I started getting baby spit up on my shirt. My hair's getting ripped out. I'm running all over the place. I'm sweating, the makeup's dripping. And yeah, I looked good for 10 minutes until life happened, because life, right?
Yeah, and want to say when I started therapy at 22, I was talking to my therapist and he said, "What do you do when you're sad?" And I said, "Well, I just scroll like Facebook." And he goes, "Stop. Because I think you're comparing what happiness looks like from other people and not from you finding it yourself. And I think that's putting you into a depression because everybody's posting they have this great relationship and you feel lonely and they're posting them and their moms have this great relationship." I was dealing with my mom at the time and it's not the reality. It's just a show. It's for show.
Exactly. So many people show up in my comments and they'll say things and like, "Man, Ivory, I wish I was you. You seem to have everything together." Like, y'all, I am not perfect. None of us are. Don't ever compare yourself. These content creators on here, how many of us watch content creators because we're like, "Oh man, they got their life under wrap. They got it perfect. Look at them. Look at the perfect aesthetic, their perfect house, their perfect kids, the perfect, they bake the perfect coffee cake, all of the things." And look, I do it too, right? Like, man, like I would love to be this woman. Meanwhile, what you're not seeing behind the scenes and take it from a content creator is the mess that actually is existent and not the corner that I film, right? The fact that my kids are upstairs fighting half the time or like doing something or you know what I mean? Like it's not perfect. Where we're showing you the perfect part. But trust me, none of you, don't ever compare yourself to people on the internet because it's not real. Everybody's life, we follow people, we watch reality TV, made it big. Why? Because there's something about the people we follow on reality TV that we relate to. I'll be the first to admit before I went down and dug a rabbit hole, I'm like, "Oh, these people," or like the Kate Gosselin, I'm like, "Oh, here's a family that's like mine with a lot of people." And it was so fake, right? Meanwhile, behind the scenes, she's beating her kids. These people are out here, raping little kids. Like, you don't realize that. Just stop comparing yourself. There's no such thing as perfect. All of us have mess, have financial problems, have arguments with our spouses. We all have the chaos. That's true life.
Yeah, there's things, financially I've been through that we've had to pull ourselves out of and it sucked. And I don't talk about it. We're okay now, but I'm still, going clipping the digital coupons at Dollar General to save the money because money comes and money goes. And like you said, it's 2026. We don't, I'm not going to complain about it online, so you wouldn't know. But it kind of brings back to what happened with that Duff Daddy guy, Sean Duffy.
Yeah.
Who unalived his big platform, and he would do motivational talks about how to treat a woman. He just unalived his wife and is a PDF.
Now,
PDF.
Think about that. This man, and what did he have? Almost 500,000 followers, right?
What's that? Sorry.
He had about 500,000 followers.
326,000.
326,000 people followed this man to hear him give these motivational talks about how to treat a woman in your family and to be perfect. And then, meanwhile, people are following him like, yeah, this guy's got it down, and he ended up killing his wife and himself.
Yep. And he battled. People are spending their money on him battling, and he looks like this great guy. He's a coach. He coaches basketball. Well, he's messing with the little girls too.
Yeah. Think about it. He was out there doing that to children. Meanwhile, he's teaching you all how you should be living. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people need to just don't compare yourself. Stop the scrolling, put it down, touch grass. There would be a lot less depression, in my opinion, if people just realized that it's okay to not be perfect. Nobody is.
Don't you think that you have to justify yourself sometimes as well? Because if I go somewhere and they don't know me and I say how old my kids are, it's always an assumption that, oh, right, they're all like not living with you and they're all, they're older and it must be really easy. No, it's not, because actually I still have to care for two of them. So like my friends who've got kids and they're in the army and they had graduation. My two oldest never had any of that. So when I say I've got like my ages, they go, oh, well, you know, you must be going on holiday and having your second life because they've all like flown the nest and, you know, they haven't. And I feel like I have to say it because it's just assumed that I'm free and, you know, I'm free now to do what I want because they're all older and, you know, but then people that don't know the fact that I've got two that I look after like the little think that because I've got like a 24-year-old and 18-year-old that actually my life is sorted.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You're absolutely right. I mean, you know, I don't know. I feel like, and that's why it's been such a big deal every time, especially on TikTok, right? You guys know that I think TikTok is the ward of the psych hospital that is social media. You get on TikTok, these damn people are fighting back and forth, but you know, you never know what somebody is dealing with in their real, true personal life. People are pulling 4 years, throwing out their drug issues or their past or their, you know what I mean? And people are out there being messy. And I'm like, y'all are going to drive somebody to do something. And it's just all really sad. I think the pressure of social media has brought on the people and the public in our day and age is just, it's just another thing to bring us down. You know what I mean? It's really frightening.
Well, that's kind of where I'm looking
Thank you,
at with
Megan.
the Lindsay Clancy prosecution. I think they may angle or people, you know, thinking what she did was horrible. I'm not condoning what she did, you guys, but thinking that she is a, you know, I think they're looking at it as she knows better. She was labor and delivery nurse. She's educated. She, you know, lived a very nice middle class life. She worked out, this, that, and the other. So why would she just did that to be selfish? You know, I think they're kind of looking, why would she have mental health issues in that aspect? I think they're kind of, some people are judging that by too.
Yeah, she had the perfect life, right? When you look at her,
Right.
you would think that she had this perfect life that everybody aspires to have.
I mean, compare that to the other case we talk about and how they look and what the house was like. And, you know, it's like this Siders and this case, how different, you know what I mean? How different they are and how you presume by sort of the way someone looks and how the house is. You do make assumptions, don't you, rightly or wrongly? But like you say, she had a good job and she was in a good house and, you know, money or whatever. And that comes with, like Samantha said, an idea that you should know what you're doing. You should be better than these people, you know, like lower in society. So, yeah. It doesn't discriminate, you're right. It doesn't.
It is. It's just, it's sad.
Some people, you know, their struggles, they might not seem much to you, but they're everything to them. People react differently to things. You know, so that's another, I think, thing people judge is, well, they haven't been through this, that, and the other. And unfortunately, you can't determine how they take that and how that affects them.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Yeah.
I mean, look how many celebrities have gone the wrong way or ended up not being here and things. I always tell my kids, you know, money, they look at the telly and go, oh, look at that pop star. Doesn't mean they're happy. Doesn't mean that money and fame and all this has made them happy, because some of them are not here anymore and that you get into trouble and stuff. But it doesn't make them happy. Doesn't mean they don't have things, you know, like depression and things. But I always say, because my kids grew up with like thinking these pop stars are human and things like that, and they're not. They're just people. And actually, the more money you get, the more money you have to do things that you shouldn't be doing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right. The more problems it can create.
Stuff, the more you've got available, the more you can party, can't you? So.
Yeah, that's true. You know, man, I don't know. This Lindsay Clancy case, I think, I feel like this is one of those cases where I just want people to step back and just look at everything and really try and understand from her point. Everyone should be trying to look at this and be like, what did she really go through. Don't look at the crime, because though the crime was bad, and I'm not saying don't give the victims any kind of justice, they absolutely, the children absolutely deserve justice. Like, it's horrible what happened, but was, you know, you really gotta just look at the entire picture. Who in their right mind would do something like that? What mother in their right mind would kill their children? And that's the question, right? What mother in their right mind would do that? And was she in her right mind? Really think about it, you know? I don't know. But on that note, guys, I've been on here for about 2.5 hours. This went a little longer than I thought. So I am going to end this. Those are the updates that I have for today. No, I agree, Lisa. She definitely wasn't in her right mind. So I appreciate everybody being here, everybody over on YouTube, on Facebook, and here on TikTok, guys. I'm not sure. Maybe one of us will go live later and we can chit chat. I know you guys were asking if we can just do a live where we just talk. So we will definitely prepare that one. This was good conversation, though. So I appreciate everybody who gave their opinions and their perspectives. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Also, if you're in here, don't forget to give a follow. I see 101 people in here. There were a little bit more before. Guys, if you're in here and you listen, don't forget to give a follow. Don't forget to follow the people on the panel over on FB and YT. Don't forget to subscribe or to follow. And guys, I'll be back on later, and I appreciate you guys.